which is going to be introduced at a later stage, momentarily, so to speak. Let me also appreciate again the presence of our audience here in the studio, and it is my hope that you will get a chance to interact with the panelists at some point in time. It is indeed a beautiful day, as I said, where we are coming together in this month, the month of tourism, where we also celebrate a number of other milestones. First and foremost is the occasion of our Independence Day. As an independent nation, we also recognize the achievement that all of us witnessed in Tokyo of our athletes. So, and it's excitement all over the place. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to waste too much time. The occasion, of course, is to celebrate World Tourism Day, and one cannot overemphasize the importance of tourism to Botswana. It is a source of employment, a source of livelihoods, especially in our rural areas. And I think we are coming here together this afternoon, and we are going to have other celebrations across the country where the key theme is to ask ourselves some basic questions on what we need to do to make our tourism bigger than ever before. Make it the biggest in the world. I think that's the whole idea, so that it becomes this engine. It's an engine, but we want to make it a bigger engine. So this is why we are all here, and it's exciting. And again, without wasting any more time, it is my pleasure to call upon the Chief Executive Officer of Botswana Tourism Organization, Mayor Kiitumetse Setlang, to come and introduce our Honorable Minister. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me? Thank you. I've been given a very important task of introducing the most important person in this room and other important people, but everything has got protocol, and we start with the most important of all of us. You're all important, but there's one very important one. The Honorable Minister for Environment and Tourism, my own Minister, Honorable Winterboipuso Moluzi. Moluzi is a member of Parliament for Francistown South Constituency and a chairperson for Saskal Council of Ministers. Moluzi urutegile ba gaetsho. He boasts quite a rich academic lineup, having been a teacher at some point. He veered off to politics, and that's why you find him here. We welcome you, Honorable Minister. I've been asked to also introduce the panel before us. I'll start off, of course, with my PS, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Environment and Tourism, Re Boat Buatametsi Mudukanele, an environmentalist of note. At some point in life, we talked sustainability today. He introduced cycling through the town, using bicycles, touring the city with bicycles. We would want to see that coming back, because that is sustainability at its best. Next to Remu Dukanele is my former lecturer at the University of Botswana, Ren Zinge, who is also, we are proud to, Dr. Shabani Nzinge, who is also an operator in the tourism industry, operating in one of the most beautiful areas in Botswana, the Kalahari Transfrontier Park at Tashibube. He's also a member of HATAP. Ren Zinge was one of the leaders at the University of Botswana at the time when I was a student there. He also sits in quite a number of commercial boards, Engine being one of them, or he has sat in some of the commercial boards, which include the Botswana Development Corporation, as well as BUST, as well as Engine, and Botswana Accountancy College. It is by no surprise that he was at Botswana Accountancy College looking at his vast experience in the world of numbers, particularly accounting. Me Olivia Unopantoi, who is a fellow at Botu University, in charge of the hospitality sector. And Me Mantoi is one of those important resources that we need in the tourism industry to educate or develop skills for the sector. And Me Mantoi is in charge of, amongst others, destination management, as well as generally just tourism and hospitality at the university or Botu University. Amongst us, we also have Re Tebogo Matlare. Re Tebogo Matlare is one of those important, very important members of this stakeholder team who are sitting before us today. He's a program officer at the delegation to Botswana and SADC under the EU family. And he's at the EU family in charge of tourism. He was very instrumental in the financing of the development of the MICE sector. And he's also in charge of the development of the ecotourism value chain, somebody that we keep going to when we want tourism development financed. And we will keep knocking on those doors because we know you believe and appreciate sustainability. Last but not least is the moderator for the session, somebody who is not a stranger to the tourism space, somebody who comes from the tourism capital of Botswana, Mau, Mr. Victor Batwing, a seasoned journalist who's been part of the mainstream media, Sunday Standard, for many years, for as long as I can remember. Re Victor Batwing. And you, the audience, good afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Setlang, the CEO of Botswana Tourism Organization, for that elegant introduction of the minister, as well as our panelists. Without any further ado, it is my honor and pleasure to call upon the Minister of Environment and Tourism, Honorable Mulutsi, to come and make a statement to welcome us. Thank you, sir.
You may be seated, Bagaitsu. I don't know which one works. This one? Okay. No, thank you very much, and thank you, Member Setlang, for being very generous by your introduction. But maybe I should just indicate that I don't think I'm the most important person in the room, but I think maybe a little special, but that status comes from maybe the way I was employed. Because while all of you had to apply, got invited to interviews, and then got employed, you know, I had to go under the tree and shout at the top of my voice, and that's the speciality that I think we should talk about. But having said that, thank Bagaitsuki Dumedise and recognize every one of you. I believe you are all important, and let me also recognize the presence of all Botswana who are watching this program, which is a very, very important program. Let me also appreciate the presence of panelists who are here, colleagues, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am honored to stand before you today as we gather to reflect, reimagine and realign our shared vision for tourism in Botswana. A vision rooted in sustainability, community empowerment and inclusive growth. We are at a crossroads. Around the world, tourism is changing and we must ask ourselves, will we simply adapt to these changes or will we lead the way with our own values and vision? Tourism is more than a revenue stream. It is a strategic pillar of our national development. It is a gateway to employment, to rural development, to cultural exchange, and to the preservation of our natural heritage. It supports thousands of livelihoods, and it gives us a platform to share the story of Botswana with the world. A story of peace, of natural beauty, of cultural richness, and of responsible stewardship. Botswana is already recognized globally for our low-impact, high-value tourism model. We have proven that conservation and economic growth can go hand in hand. But to remain competitive and relevant, we must now go further. We must transform. Ladies and gentlemen, the transformation we speak of today is not just about economic growth. It is about resilience, equity, and sustainability. Climate change is affecting our ecosystems. Certain communities remain on the margins of the tourism economy. Over-tourism in some areas threatens both biodiversity and our visitor experience. Our youth are looking for new, innovative, digital-driven opportunities that the traditional tourism model may not fully offer. Transformation means preparing for the future without compromising the integrity of our people or our environment. So what does a truly sustainable and inclusive tourism sector look like? Now, as a Minister of Environment and Tourism, I believe it rests on 5 key pillars. The first one being diversification of destinations. We will promote emerging destinations and experiences across all districts, including heritage sites, cultural festivals, and community-based tourism initiatives to ensure a broader distribution of benefits. 2, local empowerment and ownership. Communities, especially women and youth, must not just participate in tourism, they must lead it. We'll expand capacity building programs and access to financing for local tourism entrepreneurs. Now, climate and environmental stewardship. As custodians of our natural heritage, we'll enforce sustainable practices across the tourism value chain, including the use of renewable energy, eco-certification, and responsible wildlife interactions. We are working to digitize the tourism sector, from national branding to booking platforms, to ensure Botswana is discoverable, competitive, and convenient for global travelers. We'll align tourism development with national goals such as Vision 2036 and the Sustainable Development Goals, while strengthening partnerships across public, private, and civil society sectors. This dialogue is not a formality. It is a call to action. The solutions we seek will not come from government alone. They will come from panelists like those here today, from community leaders, from the private innovators, and importantly, from members of the public who live and breathe the realities of this industry every day. Let this be a space where ideas are shared honestly, where challenges are acknowledged, and where practical, homegrown solutions are brought to the fore. In conclusion, tourism offers a rare opportunity to build an industry that not only brings in income, but uplifts people, protects nature, and honors our culture. Let us not lose lose that opportunity by standing still. Let us move forward, not with quick fixes, but with bold, thoughtful transformation. Let us commit to a tourism sector that reflects the best of who we are and the best of what we want to become. Ke a leboga bagaetsho. Enjoy the dialogue and enjoy the discussions.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for those remarks. And I think the message has really sunk very deep, and we appreciate that. It is now my turn to turn over this part of the program to Mr. Victor Batwin, our moderator for the day, to do what he does best, and that is to engage with his panel. I will just disappear until we come to the closing remarks. Thank you very much. Over to you, Mr. Batwin. I think you can do that seated.
Oh, okay, perfect. All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much, Dich, for holding it up. Thank you for holding it up. Today we meet to look at World Tourism Day. As we might be aware, the United Nations World Tourism Organization has set up September 27 as the Tourism Day, but Rona, because it falls on the weekend, that's why we find ourselves here. But this year's theme, tourism and sustainable transformation, comes as a reminder. It appears to me as if whoever came up with the theme had Botswana in mind, because we also had the new government throughout the months, Babuaka transformation. So we are here to actually be reminded that tourism is not just for leisure and travel, but it's also a driver of economic growth and cultural exchange. So to do that, we have lined up rich content coming from our panelists, as introduced earlier by May Masetlang. On the immediate left, Jaka Re Taloseditso, so we have the PS Re Modukanele. We also have a rep from the academics. He comes from the academics. She also happens to be the only rose amongst the thorn up front here. So big up to her. Renale Renzinge, as well as the SADC rep. So to start our discussions, I want us to start here, PS, aligning the theme to Botswana. What is it that Botswana tourism through policies is doing to align this global theme to ensure sustainable transformation, with us balancing conservation and growth?
No, thank you very much. I think as you know, Botswana is in a situation where we need to transform. It's not by choice at the moment. We have a responsibility. As you know, the economy is not doing very well. Our diamonds are not in the best selling point as they used to be. So tourism has been identified as one of the sectors that can take this economy forward. If you look at the economic transformation plan, which has just been completed now, one of the sectors that has been identified is tourism. And this is because tourism, through the policies that we have inaugurated over the years, even now, tourism is a big employer. It's one of the biggest employers, especially in rural areas where unemployment is high. It's also one of the biggest foreign revenue earners because of the nature of our tourism. And the reason why tourism is where it is because of the policies that we have put in place. These policies put conservation and tourism and economy in more or less at the same path, because we know that for us to be able to generate more and more income, more and more revenue coming in, we need to be able to protect the very product that we are selling. And the reason why we are able to sell the product at the niche prices that we are selling it is because of putting in the policies that ensure that we do not overutilize the resources that we have.
Okay, perfect. What are some of the, one could say, practical steps that the ministry going forward intends to take in order to support the local communities that are benefiting from the tourism sector?
Yeah, we currently have a number of programs and initiatives. One of them is the community-based natural resource management, which is a program that allows local communities who reside within areas that are rich with natural resources to benefit from them. We have just passed through the past parliament session. We passed the community-based natural resource management bill, which will help guide and improve the governance of the natural resources in these areas. But we're also looking at other things because we've been working a lot in areas that are more wildlife based, but we are introducing new products like city tourism, which we just launched a couple of weeks ago. These are also initiatives that are geared towards ensuring that we empower both local communities, but we also empower even communities in the urban space, because these are areas that have resources that have been untapped for a while.
Thank you very much. Re Nzinge, I want to bring you here as a representative here, HATAP, also being in that space, in the private space. What are some of the initiatives that are coming from the private sector to embrace sustainability beyond it being just a buzzword?
Thank you. Is this thing on? Or you can hear me? Yes, I am here on the auspices of HATAP. Anything I say that you like, please applaud HATAP. Anything that I say that you don't like, please put it on me. Now, at HATAP and essentially in the tourism industry at large, I think some of these buzzwords are words that we already are familiar with. When you talk tourism, you're already talking conservation. You're already talking transformation. And all these are things that are important to us. And you're already talking sustainability. We understand why we need to manage our natural resources in a sustainable manner, how we utilize them. We have to do that in a sustainable manner. Now, our view is that, maybe to more address your question, is that the tourism sector has the potential to offer more to the development and transformation of this country, to the socio-economic development of the country, if I may say that. The industry is already doing quite a lot, but there's scope for it to do more. But for that to happen, there are a number of important considerations that also must take place. I don't know how much time you allow me because, as a former academic, I may go on and on.
But I think you maybe to write just on that, maybe if you have on top of your head some of the partnerships that HATAP is working on with the government and the communities. Minister Muluzi spoke on the issue some communities being marginalized who are largely supposed to be beneficiaries. So if maybe you can just, as your way out, to touch base on that, the partnerships.
Yes, our view is that government is very important in laying out the foundation for further development of the industry. Obviously, we all depend on infrastructural development that can be put in place by government in order for the private sector to invest meaningfully. I think at HATAB and as an industry at large, we are ready to invest more. We are willing to see more investors coming, domestic and international investors come in. So these are things that we are prepared to do, hand in hand with government. And we echo the sentiments of the minister in terms of communities. Many of our operations, especially when you're looking at wildlife-based tourism, they are located in areas that are adjacent to communities. Some of them have actually been moved from the parks and game reserves to make way for operators to set up in those parks. Now, these are people who dependent even historically, partly on the resources, the natural resources in those areas where we find operators today. Now, it is important to involve them, and our view is that they need to be involved perhaps more significantly than they're being involved now. It is important to involve them right from the onset and let them be part of the process of setting up operations and determining some of the policies that will guide the operations of the industry. And this is not just for them being party or coming to the party when it relates to conservation, and that is important. But they also have ideas. Some of them actually have got very beautiful ideas on conservation. They've been practicing that for many years, and they have a role to play, and they're important stakeholders. So we see this as a partnership between ourselves as industry, government, and the communities.
Okay, so Mentoy, there's no solution that we can come up with without having done a bit of research in data. So in your field, academics, we know already you spend many nights doing a lot of research. So one would maybe want to know what are some of the main challenges and opportunities that you see in driving Botswana's sustainable tourism transformation?
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for your question. It's quite a mouthful. I don't know where to start. But basically, in terms of research, a lot of research has been happening of late. I mean, in the past, maybe 35 years or so since tourism policy started developing, if we look back, there have been writings in terms of academic research where we can learn. And then in terms of just general interest in tourism, perhaps as an educator myself at a private institution, and probably trying to get interest of students when it comes to tourism and hospitality, that's something that is sometimes difficult. And I'm not going to just say tourism, I'm going to say tourism and hospitality because it's a little bit difficult to separate the two, especially when we're talking about things such as transformation. So you find that sometimes students don't have an appreciation of what exactly tourism is or sustainable tourism might be, so the interest level is low, so we don't have as many people signing up to study for tourism, for example. And then in terms of information out there, you find that yes, indeed, there is information out there, but not everybody has access to it. And it's not necessarily something where we can point fingers and say so-and-so didn't do this. It's just a matter of us going back and thinking about maybe how can we collaboratively share information and such, because I mean, when it comes to research, there could be research on impact, research on all sorts of aspects of tourism that we can all share within the industry. So I think there's a lot of potential for collaboration when it comes to research
Okay. So speaking of research, in preparation for this, the desktop research that I did also showed on our top 5 or thereabout, yeah, the tourists include even non-English speaking people, people from Germany, French, the Chinese. And we know very well that up north west, where I come from, some of the companies, they use Barebe Bitandi Guide, and some of them, they don't know these languages. Do you see a situation where there's that collaboration that you speak about, where we could perhaps find a way of to upskill them to be able to do the the guiding without the need for translation?
Definitely, I do believe so. When we look at tourism again, you know, there's that interdisciplinary part, you know, where we can borrow from other disciplines in order to perhaps enhance it and such. Like if we look on social media, for example, there are organizations that are now offering French for tourism and such and such. But then in terms of translations also, this stands as an opportunity for these entrepreneurs. You know, you can have recordings that do say the story for your visitors. So sometimes some of the challenges that we have also exist as opportunities to actually transform and become that butterfly that we want to become eventually.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Re Matar, coming from the EU delegation and knowing that at some point we made headlines relating to us donating some big animals to some European countries. I want you to talk on regional cooperation in terms of how do we get Botswana to have a shared sort of approach within the region in terms of the climate change, wildlife tracking, and the infrastructure gap that could be there. What do you see in terms of our regional cooperation, speaking to Bokasa zone and the like?
Oh, sorry. I'm not as digital as my co-panelist. But thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, for your question. Yeah, how do we do that from the EU side? There are so many financial instruments that are in place that are the foundation for partnerships and cooperation, either at regional level, global level, and even at national level. And you are asking about the same at the regional level. We have programs already going right now. One in particular is called Nature Africa. You can tell from the name that this is about protection of nature in Africa. It's targeting what we call transfrontier conservation areas, and these are land masses that are shared by neighboring countries. And for that to be able to contribute to conservation of the same, EU will provide funding. In this case, there's a 33 million euro program that is running and is going to be implemented in these transfrontier conservation areas. CASA, which you made as an example, is going to be one of them. KTP, which I had in the room that Dr. Nzinga is maybe doing business there or doing some work there, is going to be one of the benefiting areas. And a lot of other TFCAs in the region are going to be part of that. Beyond that, there are a lot within the tourism space. I mean, from the EU side, the question of sustainability, I know that's not what you're asking, is at the heart of development policies. There's something called the Green Deal, and this is the masterpiece of climate neutrality, by which the EU is saying by 2050 want to be the first region in the world to be climate neutral. And we cannot get to that unless we go through this route. of ensuring that the use of resources for tourism or for any other purpose is being done sustainably.
Okay, perfect. So if you were, by any chance, there's a young Botswana, perhaps in Matsaudi or Shorobe watching this program, and they are looking at opportunities that could be available from your office in terms of preparation, in terms of them building their capacity to take up opportunities, be it maybe setting up a solar panel in a resort down there. What are those that are actually available for individual communities that are in tourism and hospitality sector?
Yeah, I'll just go straight to a program. I keep talking about programs. I'm a program officer, so I should expect to talk about programs. There is a call for proposal that is running around right now. Unfortunately, colleagues is closing on Friday. On the basis of which any organization in the country that qualifies according to the guidelines that are there, that qualifies, can make an application for funding for a certain amount of money to achieve the same priorities that you just mentioned about doing. Unfortunately, I think in the guidelines, it may not benefit an individual applicant, a young Matsaudi boy who's going to come with a two-page concept note and say, please help me. But it supports NGOs. It supports, I think, academic of higher learning. It supports government entities as well. So I mean, to be very practical, there's something that is how young people or anybody may be able to benefit from EU support. But we can take it a little bit higher and look at bilateral relations between EU and government of Botswana. There's another program that is coming. It's called the Green Value Chains. There are two value chains of interest there. One is horticulture, another one is ecotourism. These were chosen and linked together because of their potential to push the same transformation that we're here about, push jobs, to push infrastructure development, to push markets expansion. And on the basis of that, we will be talking within the stakeholder, within the sector, as to what priorities may be pursued by Botswana stakeholders in terms of organizations, in terms of small businesses, in terms of, the participants in the ecotourism value chain. So I come back to you with a very practical things that are there, and there's a green value chain project that I'm talking about. We expect the implementation to start already early 2026.
Perfect. Re Mudukanele, having heard what the academics, the men on the ground, and our partner being EU have said, what are some of the key policy changes that perhaps one could look up to in the short to medium term? And also, if you can, if you've been interacting with the participants, the laboratory, I know tourism is on the top 3 targeted in terms of the sectors. If you can also touch on that.
Yeah, I think yes, I've interacted with the participant of the lab, specifically on the tourism side. But I think one of the areas that we have identified is as a bottleneck that we will be working with our other colleagues, is that if you look at all the projects that have been identified, the major issues has been around land allocation, tourism land allocation. That is something that has been taking time. So we are already engaging with our partners, our colleagues at Lens, so that we can find a way of streamlining these processes such that investors can come in and go in. Because what we would like to do is that we want to expand tourism away from the traditional areas, which is away from your area specifically, which is Ngamiland and Chobe, which has been the only 2 areas that have been monopolizing tourism. So we have developed the National Tourism Master Plan, which has divided the country into 8 tourism development areas, looking at the uniqueness of each of those areas and you realize that now we can go back to the private sector, to the funders, and say, here we have the Khanzi area, which is another tourism development area, which has just its uniqueness, and we have not really tapped into it. We're also looking at areas in terms of the cultural tourism that we realize we haven't really touched. So our initiatives from a policy perspective are looking at liberalizing a lot of these areas. We will be very soon, we will be starting to review the Tourism Act, so that, it was done quite a number of years ago. It has been overtaken by events, and also we want to revise it such that it opens up. Currently we have a number of license options. So but now there are new things coming up that we haven't thought of 10 years ago. So we are looking at it to revise it. We are looking at generally at all our legislation to say which ones can we look at and then revise such that they become more investor friendly. They contribute to the ease of doing business.
Okay, perfect. Renzing, from HATAB perspective, the issue of capacity building, whether it's the community trust, we know in the past we have had so many headlines relating to how resources were used in some of the community trust there. But if you look at it, largely it deals with the issue of capacity of the people that have been given the responsibility to be managers. But we know that those people in the communities, they make money from some of the companies who are members of HATAB. So in terms of programs that you have in place to build capacity, do you have any on top of your head that you could share with, and strategies going forward?
Are you referring to strategies at HATAB level?
Yes, at an association,
Association level.
to say, as an association, you could be encouraging your members to, for instance, be training communities where you have operations at.
Well, I think if you look at the members of HATAB, and essentially even other players who are not necessarily members of HATAB, through the social security, rather the community programs of giving back to the communities. The intent is to ensure that any resources that are extended to those communities actually benefit the communities meaningfully. I think that's really where there's been a challenge. There are companies and operators that have actually extended large sums of money to try and benefit the communities around the areas where they operate. And as you say, there's been issues of money perhaps being misused. We are concerned about that, and at the moment, to the best of my knowledge, it's individual companies that make some of these donations that also partner of those communities and also of government to try and make sure that the money is utilized for the benefit of the people and is not diverted, as has been suggested.
Okay.
We are keen on ensuring that the money does benefit.
Okay. Would you say maybe at this stage or in the past there could be some impediments in terms of trying to do that? Something that maybe Remo Dukanele could work on?
I think this is a question that perhaps Remo Dukanele can answer better, because they have been at the forefront of it. We're coming in voluntarily to try and ensure that even the little that we impart to those communities is used well. But government obviously has had the obligation of trying to make sure that the resources are utilized for the benefit of the people and not for individuals. And we stand ready to lend a hand if we are invited also to help to assist the government. And we have in many ways actually played a role trying to advise wherever we had the opportunity to do so.
Okay, perfect. Mentoi, how can we ensure that data and research as well as innovation, because Remo Luzinabu issue some young members of our community could be interested in this sector, but on the tech side of things. So how do we ensure that data and research as well as innovation is integrated into our policy in Botswana for sustainability?
That's a very hard question. How do we ensure that data is available? By sharing it, by having perhaps open door policies when it comes to if I am allowed to come and get information from a certain entity. And then also talking about the collaborative partnerships that I was talking about. For example, I'm not going to walk somewhere and get a book that says the solution to all tourism problems in Botswana. But if I go from department to department or organization to organization, I can get information that I can put together and have information that will help young people.
Okay. Because the reason why I'm asking that is because in the past we would have a situation where any business largely depend on data. So sometimes the timing. I wanted Remo Duganele to then come in at this juncture to say how quick is your department giving out information, particularly to the private sector and academics to inform decision making?
Yeah, I think we still have a challenge. This is mainly because if you go back a little bit, you realize that a lot of our data, a lot of our information is still in hard copy type of systems. But of course, we are transforming towards more digitized systems. We are currently working on updating all our information, including they call it the T-Stat, mainly so that we can have the most up-to-date statistics. So because a lot of the time when people want to invest, they are looking at statistics. What is the latest statistics on visitors, on travelers? And this has been something that has been lagging behind a lot. But we are working on it. We are already with engaged teams that will be looking at so that they can improve that side of things. Yeah.
Okay. Rematar, as a potential partner in this space, do you feel the Botswana as a country or as a destination is doing enough to prepare in terms of what perhaps a tourist from Europe is looking into? Because I know in other sectors, for instance, in the mineral sector, there's a worry that at some point those who are buying diamonds, they might ask what is powering our mine? For example, do we use coal or do we use solar energy and all that? Do you think we are moving in the right direction, looking from the perspective a European tourist, if we were to take you into that space?
Thank you again, Mr. Moderator. I don't think the European tourist may be thinking that we are not doing enough. I believe the European tourist is aware of the policies that the government of Botswana has in place, and that those policies are appreciated. I also believe that much as we may not be moving at the same pace with regards to green energy transitions, I don't think anybody's expecting miracles that one day you are into coal, the next day you are all solar. But I suppose also that maybe our colleagues in the tourism sector, including at BTO, may use their numbers to show whether there are people who are beginning to vote with their feet and not come to Botswana for whatever reason. But I don't think there are concerns from the EU, from the tourist perspective regarding our level in Botswana, our level of transition and transformation. Even if, in particular, even if we are looking specifically at the area of energy, But we can say here that in agreement with the government of Botswana, there's a program in place now. I keep talking about programs. There's a program in place now that is supposed to support the government of Botswana in the renewable energy transition. It's called Aspire. So, I mean, I hope this leaves you rest assured that it's not like government of Botswana is not interested in moving in that direction. And the reason that there is support from the EU to achieve that objective is that there is a willingness in Botswana to do the same.
Perfect. I want to take our discussion to our audience, but as we prepare for that, as we prepare the roving mic for that, Ray Nzinge, help me look at this one as a businessman. Obviously, there's a niche market that you see. Maloba Nerebona, the launch, the buses. Someone could also speak on issues, the cultural homes, Kobo Ramos, Abo Muchudi, Bo Malepole, which are traditional villages around the city. What's the niche market that you see as promising for Botswana?
Yeah, I believe that we need to diversify away from wildlife-based tourism. That is very, very important. I don't mean that we should neglect it, but we also need to look at other forms of tourism that include what we just referred to, mostly cultural heritage. And indeed, we need to be creative and innovative in terms of what it is that we can offer, where we believe we've got a competitive advantage. I know that studies have suggested that the forms of tourism such as cultural heritage are somewhat challenging for us. But I think we can do that. And the example that you have referred to shows that we can actually venture into cultural tourism from that perspective. Sometimes we overthink what cultural tourism is. Some of the very simple, basic things that we do in our culture are very interesting to tourists coming from elsewhere in the country. So we need to venture into that. But we also, in terms of, if you talk niche market, I also look at it from the point of view of places where we can attract visitors, not just what we offer. For instance, I don't know what our view is with China, for instance. China is a big market. Why don't we tap into that market? It's huge. We also need to move away from some of our traditional markets and attract more visitors.
Okay. Mentoi, as an academic, obviously in other sectors, there's always a challenge here, literacy, because much as statistics shows hore mo Botswana re rutegile, but there's also issue here, literacy here when it comes to, for example, financial literacy. When the central bank, for example, enter a commemorative note, when you get on the social media, you get different views to see hore literacy arona ya harlohan. So that speaks to financial literacy. So for when I want you to address issue ya our basic education, do you think you might not have had the chance ya go labor, but I'm assuming that Ozenye Skole mo Botswana. Do you think we need maybe to somehow tweak it to ensure that maybe we grow some of the citizens while they're still young, to prepare them for the sustainable future that we are looking into more the tourism sector?
Okay. So the question is that are Botswana educated enough to be able to assist in the transformation in tourism?
Yes, partially, but also is there any tweak that we can do to ensure that we prepare for the future? Because we can't speak about sustainability and not speak about the younger generation.
Okay. In terms of possibly basic education, yes, Ketseni School mo Botswana. and I have taught at primary school level in Botswana as well. So there is room for improvement when it comes to just the education system in general for people to have that financial literacy or that literacy numerology, if it's called that. So from a basic education point of view, yes, there's room for improvement. But then now when we look at education, there's also communities that we deal with in academia, because community engagement is also a part of academia that has to happen, where you go and you engage with community members in rural places, and you also get to capacitate them. And that's actually my area of interest, community participation and such. So you find that a lot of members of the community in rural communities, there's room for improvement, yes, in terms of them being taught financial literacy in order for them to be able to govern their structures properly, you know. You asked a question earlier on, I can't remember who it was directed at, but what are the efforts on the floor? Yes, there are efforts. One of them is experiencing these trusts being trained on governance, which is something that's very, very, very important, because governance is what then makes the trust if it's not governed properly. So there are efforts here and there, and community members, yes, need to be, capacitated. So there's room for improvement, really. I can't tell you where exactly how for now, but just know that there's room for improvement.
All right. Dicha, no really, you are going to disappear, but I want you to help me here with the audience to pick one or two comments or questions from the audience directed to any of our panelists so that we engage them. Already I see a hand raised, young. Please, if someone could hand him the mic and then.
Thank you very much, Rabatu. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you very much for a very loaded panel discussion and very, very rich content coming from our panelists. I have, I think, two questions. The first question goes to Dr. Nzinge. I think the moderator maybe cut you short when you were presenting very, very early on. You spoke of considerations that needed to be made. I thought you were going to come up with maybe just, highlighting those considerations that need to be made in order for us to be able to achieve that sustainability in terms of tourism. So if perhaps you have that, I would really like to hear maybe just a summary of those considerations that would help us move ahead. The second one goes to perhaps the PS about you yourselves have in the past expressed frustration with the fact that we are so wildlife based, in terms of tourism, and obviously that is why government is doing everything it can to diversify away from wildlife based tourism. Is there anything that you are doing, for example, because our tourism always responds to anything that happens, especially in Western countries. And I think that is why Dr. Nzinge was saying that perhaps we should also be exploring other alternative markets. So what are you doing in terms of leveraging on the African free trade area to actually cultivate opportunities that can be achieved in terms of intra-continental tourism? I heard the president when he's in the US speaking about opening corridors in terms of inter-African trade. What in terms of tourism is the ministry doing with regards to cultivating that area. Maybe finally, the policy that Botswana adheres to in terms of tourism, in terms of the sustainable use, which is perfectly legal and internationally recognized, seems to be under attack a lot, especially from the ecotourism branch of conservation. And it seems that government is quite cautious in terms of actually pushing the sustainable use policy of tourism. And I just want the minister or you, the PS, to actually categorically state today that Botswana continues to create, to achieve that balance between the sustainable use and, of course, ecotourism branch of conservation. I hope I'm clear. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ray Tsiang. We follow your column on one of the local newspapers on tourism. He writes extensively on tourism and hospitality. Ray Nzinge, the first finger was pointed at you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think a good number of the considerations that I had in mind were touched on during the discussion. But let me just, for purpose of emphasis, and I'm happy the Honorable Minister is here. It is my strong view that if government believes that tourism can make a difference, and the PS is next to me, I'm sure you can easily pick up the vibes that I'm putting through. Government really needs to deliberately prioritize tourism as one of the important sectors in the socio-economic development of the country, as one of the sectors that can make a difference. I believe you already do, but that prioritization has to be seen in deeds. There's definitely need for increased investment by government in the industry in terms of infrastructure, in terms of enabling legislation and policies. Those things are important. We have already been talking about these things at different fora, like even recently at the HATAB annual conference in April. And I know that even the president, Advocate Duma Gideon Boko, he challenged us to actually come up with proposals of what needs to be improved. We therefore need, and we need to work hand in glove together with government and the industry and the community, to elevate our tourism to a point where we can benefit this country much more than has ever happened before. There is that potential. One is that we haven't diversified tourism as much as we could have. Both in terms of geographical diversification, our tourism at the moment has largely been based on the north. And government has actually invested significantly. Look at the international airports in Maun, international airport in Kasane, they're just next door. We can actually open up other parts of the country. And if we want to do it, we can do it. It's a question of coming up with ideas and commitment. We can do that. Look at, we have such large chunks of land, such as the CKGR. We also have the Kalahari Transfrontier Park. These are lands in my areas that are underutilized in my view. I know there's challenges. One of them is access. We can do something about access, especially air access. Air access doesn't mean we have to develop international airports. Part of it can be charter. We can enable charter aircrafts to crisscross the skies of Botswana, to connect the different areas of Botswana easily. Yes, I know there are other challenges, like, for instance, water is a major challenge in places like the CKGR and also the KD. But those can be, we can find ways around it. Water is there, but it just is highly saline, for instance. And it matters for some of the developments such as camps and lodges. In prioritizing tourism, government has to invest on marketing. BTO has to be funded, seriously. Look at our neighbors. How much are they spending? Look at South Africa. They're spending, their marketing budget is measured in billions. Can we say the same about BTO? We are competing with so many other countries. Everybody around the world is marketing themselves. So we really have to spend money there. We have done exceptionally well in conservation. But now look at the funding of the Department of Wildlife and National Parks. It needs boosting a lot, because otherwise it's going to begin to suffer. We might find that we are no longer actually conserving our resources, because they are the watchdogs, and if they are not able to do their work, they are not resourced to carry out their mandate, something is going to give. I don't know whether to venture into something that's probably very controversial. And this one, I wouldn't say it's a HATAB issue. It's probably my issue more than anything else. I think government also needs to look at how you support investment, especially from citizens. If you're talking citizen economic empowerment, you need to look at how you support Botswana to venture into this industry. It is very difficult. Take it from me, I've been involved. And I'm talking here about investment in protected areas, which is the national parks and game reserves. You'll be shown a piece of land, right? Green site in the middle of nowhere. You have to provide everything from scratch. You are going to have to start, obviously, with doing things like environmental impact assessment. You are going to do surveys of, topographical survey of the area, which is the simpler things. Then you're going to have to build roads that you need. You're going to have to find water. You must survey and drill for water. You're going to have to provide your own power. So you're going to have to provide your own communications, like mostly satellite, because most of these areas, our local networks are not available. This is serious investment. And then what happens? You are given, essentially, you are only guaranteed really 15 years, after which, yes, you may be likely to continue, or you may be asked to give way to somebody else. After all that investment, really? And then you have to look at issues like, why do we need to even do that? Why do you have a business which has a time limit? I know where this has come from, and it goes back to Northern Botswana. I know the history of it. But we have to look at these policies, especially that we are looking now to the future. Let's seriously review our strategies, our practices, and see whether they're working for us.
Okay, yeah. So, Piers, when we later talk to the issue of partnership and inclusive growth, I want you to try and address that issue, the last part. But for now, focus on the comment that was made by Ray Zia.
Myself again. Yes, yes. We see Africa as a market. Maybe we haven't in the past years. We haven't really done a lot of marketing in terms of attracting Africa, the rest of Africa to here. But we have identified Africa as a market that we need to. That is why we are part of the negotiations on the UNIVISA, which is a visa that would allow people to travel within, at least for now it is within the Gaza region, but I believe as we are moving forward we should be able to engage the rest of SADC and then the rest of Africa. But these are the engagements we are already having with our other partners through our Ministry of Labour and Home Affairs. So these are ways of ensuring that the rest of Africa can be able to come here without having to be too worried about whether they have a visa or not. So these are some of the initiatives that are already on the cards as we speak now. And when I talk to the next question that you asked, I think there's no question. As a country, we have done well in our conservation area. Sustainability has been part of our DNA for quite a while. And that is why we host the largest elephant population in the world. Everywhere else, the population of elephants is going down, but ours is going up. This has been confirmed by the latest CASA survey. Now, as a country, we believe in sustainable utilization. So, to us, when we think about tourism, we are not only talking about those who come for photographic tourism. Even those who come for hunting are tourists. They are tourism. So we will continue doing both photographic tourism and hunting tourism, because these are markets for different sectors. These are markets that cater for different sectors. So we will continue doing that because we have the numbers in terms of wildlife numbers. We can sustain it, and it is, for us, it is controlled hunting. It is not where everybody comes here and shoot what they want. It's controlled. It's done scientifically, and even our partners, international partners like CITES, they know what we are doing, and we are very transparent about it. So yes, I can confirm that for us, we are always for sustainable utilization of our natural resources.
Okay. We could get one or two more questions by show of hand. Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
Good afternoon. My name is Nonofo, and I'm from Soft Landing Concierge. I wrote my question down so that I don't forget. So when it comes to tourism, it's often spoken about in terms of leisure and safaris. But I think it was Hatab that spoke about a niche. And one of the niche that we found is corporate tourism. That is from international conferences to business delegations. Now, how is Botswana aligning itself to tap into this corporate tourism market? And in what ways is the government open to partnering or supporting concierge services, which play a vital role in delivering seamless experiences for such travelers? We are at the airport, and sometimes there's so many red tapes for us to do what we need to do. But concierge services are the middlemen between the airport and the hotel, and just between businesses and travelers. How then can we be assisted? Thank you.
Any other taker from the audience? Okay.
Thank you. Mine goes to the industry players, the private sector. Government has basically said two things. One, I'm financially shipwrecked. Two, I want a private sector-led economy. So the question is, how ready are we and willing as the private sector? I heard Renzinge talking about the need for investment, but how ready are we as the private sector to invest and assist government? For an example, in the protected areas, would the private sector be willing to cater or sustain some of the infrastructure, for example, the roads, leading to the destinations which you benefit from? How ready and willing are we as the sector? You talked of airstrips and air access. So if the CAEB were to say, we'll give you access or allow you to bring your tourists to land in these far areas, is this industry willing to construct and develop this infrastructure, these airstrips, minus having to ask government to say, invest because government says there's no money. Thank you.
Okay, Ray Mudukanel, I think largely the questions are directed at you as a policymaker or implementer.
Yes, I think like we said, we are open for business in terms of the wide variety of tourism sector that we are running. We are currently working on a strategy for MICE. We are currently working on strategy for MICE because we want to make this country a place that is a destination for conferences, meetings, and exhibitions. This is an area that we really want to grow, and therefore, this goes also to the corporate clients that will be coming here for meetings. So, I think what we will also like to get from the private sector, especially because they are the ones who actually will be running with this MICE and all the tourism activities. What we would like to get from them is what is it that we need to do to make it easier for them to run their businesses. We are out here to say we are here where we are. That's why we are looking at reviewing our legislation, reviewing some of the ways we've been doing things. But we are saying to the private sector, let's come to the table and agree on the sort of things that we need to undertake to ensure that your businesses are run smoothly. I don't know, the other one was, oh no, the other one was asking about the private sector, how they can come onto the board. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
Now, as far as the private sector is concerned, I don't think there is an expectation necessarily that government would then go in and provide all the infrastructure that even the individual operators would need. Because at the moment, many of the operators in protected areas, they have constructed airstrips and are maintaining them. It's expensive, it's costly, but they're doing it. The access that we yearn for is mostly access of visitors from wherever they are coming from around the world, being able to access those protected areas. Like is the case, for instance, with the Delta, there's an international airport in Mau. Same with Chobe, there's an international airport in Kasane. And then there's the issue of roads, because if you look at the domestic tourism, many of those people like to drive. They don't necessarily expect to fly. But then, as I referred to charter flights, part of the challenge we have with linking up, say, northern Botswana of southwestern Botswana, for instance, or even to some extent the CKGR, is the civil aviation rules. It's not even Minister of Tourism issues. It's civil aviation rules which need to be looked at. And again, there the issues are simple. We have, as HATAB, one way or another, we have engaged with civil aviation, and I think they're beginning to understand that there's more that they can do to facilitate air travel within the country. So it's really from that perspective that government would provide the main infrastructure, and the operators themselves will obviously continue to fend for themselves in terms of the infrastructure relating to their operations. I'm not sure whether I hope that I'm answering your question. So investing in terms of assisting government, I'm not sure whether you meant assisting government of, like, for instance, major roads that leads to protected areas or not. I'm of the view that government will be able to do that. And then the operators will come in to deal with the infrastructure relating to their concessions. And indeed, if government were to provide more concessions in protected areas, I can guarantee you there are people that are willing to take up those offers. I mean, I'm not aware of any concessions that were made available and there were no takers. I'm not sure that has ever happened. So I think the willingness on the side of the private sector to invest is there. People are ready to invest. It is, as I said, it's quite challenging, especially for the citizens. Because I don't billionaires. We are still very few. I'm one of those who are still grappling in poverty and hope to be a billionaire one day.
Thank you very much, Renzingi. We are drawing close to the close here our program, so I want us to go this way. As you give your parting word, also address the issue of what role do you see the international organization and partners, development partners playing without necessarily overshadowing local priorities? Because we have seen instances where, for example, the likes of Survival International, at some point they had a campaign that they had in the past. So what role do you see the international organization playing in that regard? You have a minute.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Yeah, the role of international organizations is to support the national government in implementing its priorities. That's the rule of thumb. That's what leads contribution or input from international organizations. EU may have all sorts of financial instruments, like I spoke about, and other tools. Your Global Europe, your Green Deal, your Global Gateway, which is a package of investments that are relevant to tourism, that are contributing to what did you call it earlier on? This routes that are connectivity, but those have to be led and supported by national priorities. EU remains committed really to walk the work with Botswana and other partners. I mean, we EU, and I'm saying we. I'm speaking on both sides because I'm a Botswana citizen. We have been together for 50 years now, EU and Botswana. So there is no telling how much we have done together and how much more we are still able to do together. Looking forward, I see, if I can just do that while I'm on the floor, because I think that's what you also asked. There are some areas that we can, in the foreseeable future, continue to work together, and one of them is on empowering local communities. This is already a government priority, and we've already started. We've supported the development of the CBNRM guidelines and went ahead to translate them into Setswana as well, so as to support the government, so the governance function that Mentoi referred to.
I've been told that we have under 2 minutes, so I'm going to cut you and let Mentoi, under 30 seconds, your parting words to the gentleman.
Okay, thank you very much. Right. What I have to say is that, so Botswana is basically a destination, right? And this destination, we want to make it a better destination, and that is how we're going to maybe diversify tourism. That's how we're going to transform. That's how we're going to be sustainable. But this can be done with various stakeholders, right? And within destination management itself, which is something that I also teach, there are those different stakeholders, the international organizations, the academia, the private sector, and government and such. So I would like to just say that I think we're doing a good job. So let's continue with dialogue like that, because it helps us to identify what needs to be filled. So in education-wise, I do believe we're headed in the right direction when I look at the curriculum and how it has evolved over the years as well.
Perfect.
So thank you very much.
23 seconds.
Thank you. At HATAB, we are very confident and happy with the leadership of the ministry, both from the minister to the peers to the directors and managers. We find this team to be a team that we are working with. They're ready to interact with us, to engage with us. We are very confident that we will be able to take things to much higher heights, working together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Piers, under 6 seconds.
I'll say, on behalf of government, we are ready to work with the private sector. We are ready to work with all the stakeholders and the partners to take the tourism to the next level, because we believe it is the next highest income generation, and also highest employer in this country.
Thank you very much. I want to take this moment also to thank you, the most insightful panelists. Also, a very big thank you to the audience as I prepare to hand over to our Director of Ceremony, Re Dichaba Molobe. Thank you very much for your kindness, for your minutes.
Thank you, Vic. We are not going to waste time. We are under pressure. We've come to almost the end of our very lively discussion. And may I call to the podium Mayor Keletso Bogatsu to come and close this session. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Thank you, Abud. And well done. Director of Ceremonies, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Please allow me to write on the protocols that have already been observed. On behalf of the Hospitality and Tourism Association of Botswana, we extend our heartfelt gratitude to the Honorable Minister of Environment and Tourism. Your presence here on the important occasion of World Tourism Day is a clear demonstration of the government's unwavering commitment to supporting the private sector in diversifying our economy and enhancing community development. As we conclude today's commemoration, one message has come through strongly from the panel, and I thank you. Botswana's tourism sector is not just a jewel in our economy, but a powerful engine to realize the aspirations of Vision 2036. We have been reminded that our nation's deep commitment to conservation gives us a unique competitive edge, one that has already laid a solid foundation for sustainable growth. Our deliberations today have underscored tourism's immense potential, not only to diversify our economy and generate foreign exchange, but to create sustainable jobs for our youth and to empower rural communities. At the same time, we are reminded that continued conservation of our natural and cultural heritage remains the bedrock of this industry. Looking ahead, it is clear that there are challenges, Minister, that we must overcome to succeed. First, we must start with strengthening our public-private partnerships to drive innovation and infrastructure. I think everybody on this panel has highlighted that, and we take it as a note. But also improve the ease of doing business by streamlining regulations and reducing bureaucratic barriers. I think one of the audience members also asked the same question. But also commit to meaningful consultations between government
but plays a larger role in job creation, in investment attraction, and also community upliftment. Ladies and gentlemen, as we close this year's World Tourism Day commemoration, let us remember that Botswana has unparalleled opportunity before it. By embracing collaboration, prioritizing efficiency, and creating a supportive environment for business and communities, we can unlock the full potential of tourism as a driver of prosperity for generations to come. Thank you, and please enjoy the rest of your day.